I was so angry. I stayed up until 4 o'clock in the morning, which...
Hello, welcome to Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. I'm Scott.
I'm now.
And today we're going to talk about Her Fearful Symmetry by Audry Niffenegger.
Yes! It's infuriating. I was so angry. I stayed up until 4 o'clock in the morning, which... I can't tell you how that throws my week off. Some days I start work at 2 a.m. So on the other days, staying up until 4 a.m, you can see there's a problem. There's a crossover where it's just no sleep problem. And I did it, and the ending was so angry making and absolutely correct.
Okay, so before we really get it, is this a spoiler video or a non-spoiler video?
Okay, so I think we talk for a little bit without saying spoilers. I think I can say that the ending, totally true to the characters, completely infuriating. The writing is lovely. I really enjoyed the character development. I think this was a thoroughly enjoyable read despite my desire to throw it at 4 o'clock in the morning when I finally finished it. What else can we say about it without...
I think we can give a brief overview, a brief synopsis. It's about two sets of twins, Elizabeth and Edie, and the daughters of one of the twins who are called... It's a while since I read this.
Valentina and Julia.
Valentina and Julia is called the mouse throughout the whole...
No, wrong one. Valentina is the mouse.
Valentina is the mouse and Julia is the other one. And it's about twins finding their own way in the world without necessarily being a twin.
I think it's about identity as well. Like, Yeah. And it's a love story and a ghost story.
Niffenegger is obsessed with romances that defy all ages. Like,
totally.
Why can't you just have a 22-year-old date a 23-year-old?
I'm really interested to find out if Niffenegger is married, and if so, is there an age gap?
I think that the internet could tell us.
I think we'll Google and put the response over Scott's face.
We're going to stop recording now. We're going to Google it and we'll be back in 5 minutes. But due to the powers of YouTube and editing, that's going to feel like 2 seconds to you. So we found out that Audry Niffenegger's husband is 8 years older than her.
Which is not huge. That's not a big gap.
That's not a big gap. Maybe we should have looked up when they met. Maybe it could have been like a Celine Dion thing where she was like 13 when she met Renee.
That's not... I don't want to talk about that. That makes me uncomfortable. It's a bit rapey.
Yeah. More than a bit.
Now I want to spoil things. So if you haven't read it, go and read it. And come back when you've read it and watch the rest of this video.
It is a controversial book on Goodreads. It does have a lot of high and low ratings.
Does it have a whole bunch of people really angry at the ending? Because that was the thing that really made me angry.
It's a lot of people thinking that Valentina's actions were stupid and she should have realised it.
I don't understand why people seem to miss a key thing for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm just going to assume that if you're watching from the spoiler warning onwards, that you've actually read it and that I don't have to explain the story to you.
Or if you are going to, if you're going to read it, you don't care that we spoil it.
Yeah, but I'm not going to explain the story, is my point.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I've already said that I'm going to spoil it. I'm not going to explain it.
Yeah.
The ending. So, it makes me angry that Elspeth Edie gets away with it and Valentina doesn't go and kill her as a spirit. I would just go and kill her. Go and kill her and take your body back. But she doesn't because she's a mouse. Ugh, that makes me angry.
She was happy.
She was happy because what? She got to ride a pigeon? Stupid. But fine. What else? As long as she's happy, I'm glad she's happy. If I was in her position, I would go and kill the stupid bitch and take my body back. But it's true to her character that she does it. It's true to her character that she rides a pigeon off into the sunset.
Well, the thing is, we're used to thinking of death as this big bad thing. You know, this book
and it's
reveals...
just a transition.
There's an afterlife. you know,
And you
how
can go
is
and
this?
ride pigeons in the thing. And she gets to be separate from her twin, which is what she's fighting for the whole book, is to develop her own identity. And what a way to get separated.
Because even if Julia dies later on and they're reunited, she's going to be like 75, 90 something.
Even if it's 10 years, they'll have had experiences apart and they'll be able to be different people. But what I think a lot of people seem to miss the implication that Elspeth is in Valentina's ear. They spend all this time alone. That's not what is spoken about, isn't in the book, but there's sort of an implication that there's some manoeuvring going on behalf of the Elspeth ghost.
Yeah.
And that maybe Valentina's idea is the result of a bit of this manoeuvring and not her just being a dumbass.
I think the other thing is there's a whole lot of foreshadowing by Niffenegger that Valentina wouldn't be privileged to.
I really love Niffenegger's ability to foreshadow in a way that instead of just spoiling what's going to happen, because you know it's going to happen, it's so correct. It's exactly what this character is going to do. You can see, but it doesn't ruin the ending or spoil what's going to happen. It makes you dread it all the more because you can see that it is coming. It's like watching a dear friend do something that your dear friend is definitely going to do and not being able to stop them.
It's the moment in the horror movie when you know you can see the knife up there and you know what's going to happen,
but drawn out for the whole book. I think it's really from the moment that Julia and Valentina actually enter the apartment. To me, it's really clear that Valentina's going to die. Like, so
that early on.
Yeah.
That early on.
So early.
I mean, there is the symmetry of the twins, Edie and Elizabeth, and Elizabeth being dead or not being dead, depending on how you want to call the characters.
Yeah.
And so you have that, but it took me a lot longer to...
No, I felt it foreshadowed really early on, and all it did was build dread in me, and I was so almost ready for the release of it to actually happen by the time it did actually happen. But once she was dead, there was an opportunity to redeem her that would have made me so joyful. And that wasn't, and Niffenegger didn't do that, which is correct. I know it's right, but it made me so angry. What else did I want to say? I wanted to say the little subplot with Martin and his OCD. Oh, I did love him.
I loved Martin. My problem with Martin and Julia getting together for a short period of time.
Well, they didn't really get together.
They didn't really, but you know when you envision what characters look like in your head?
Yeah.
I must have made Martin older than he was, because...
No, you didn't, because it's just her weird thing with age gaps.
That was
He's like a billion.
Age gap.
And the reason they didn't get together was because he was all impotent, which I had a problem with that, Audrey. He gets away with not being a dirty old pedo, essentially. I mean, she's above the age of consent, but whatevs. He gets away with not being creepy because he can't get it up, not because he's got any kind of character. He gets away with not cheating on his wife because he can't get it up. Gross. But I did really like everything else about him, and I liked that he allowed himself to be tricked.
Yes.
So that he could get to his wife.
I liked the friendship that developed between them.
Yeah, it didn't need to be all sexy time.
Yeah. And maybe that's why she did the sexy time and had it veiled, essentially, to sort of eliminate that. But at the same time...
I feel like you could have eliminated it in another way. Maybe Julia could have been a lesbian. That would have been great.
Well, yeah, that could have been great. I don't know, I think the age gap is enough.
Yeah.
But
maybe she's asking us questions with that as to, why do I have to make it clear that they're not going to root? Because you crazy people think everyone who opposing genders again.
A man and a woman discuss something.
Oh my god, when are they gonna have sex? Better answer that question. Yeah, I don't know. But I did enjoy his OCD. I really enjoyed the explanation of it stemming from anxiety. I felt like that was the most accurate, true description of how it feels for people with OCD. I have a friend who has OCD, and it matched very well with my knowledge of her and her condition, and that made me really happy. It's nice to see it represented respectfully and truly, and it demonstrated how debilitating it is as a disease, and it's not just a punchline about how you have to have things clean.
Yeah. So before you read this, I asked you, is Audrey Niffenegger trash? You call a lot of good books trash. Right? And you denied and said yes, she was trash. Now you've read Her Fearful Symmetry. Do you agree with your opinion before?
I think she's a very talented storyteller, but I'm not certain that she's in control of her deeper thematic nuances. I definitely, there's so much going on in this novel that I actually feel like I still need to sit with it, maybe even reread it, to get it all. She explores all these themes of love and age and identity, and there was a weird extra theme of history and death and multi-generational, through the exploration of the history of the cemetery, and I thought I felt like she put that in for flavour. I felt like that was just an interesting setting to her, rather than if she was a different author, a bit more in control of her thematic content, maybe that would have been developed into a more cohesive comment or set of questions about the way we deal with ancestry and death and that sort of thing.
I think she's much more talented than you think she is.
Maybe I just haven't connected the dots properly. I don't necessarily feel like she's thematically cohesive enough to be what I would consider to be high literature, I guess. But she's very talented at producing a story that's very engaging and very interesting and has multiple levels of interest. I high-end trash.
Yeah.
I love trash. Don't take that as me saying, I'm not calling it Mills and Boone. I'm saying
trash is escapism.
I'm just saying, in 200 years, it's unlikely that this is going to be held up as, the great universal work.
Yeah, but what Pride and Prejudice is 200 years ago. Would you really have picked that book?
Maybe not. And my opinion is, as we all know, well, certainly anyone who listens to me regularly knows, my opinion is not worth shit. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, but people, if you like Her Fearful Symmetry and you recommend another book,
I totally think that Her Fearful Symmetry is well worth the read. Very enjoyable, a reasonable amount of brain food. I certainly was engaged emotionally. I was very angry at the end of it.
I wasn't as angry. I very much enjoyed the book. I definitely wanted Valentina to get revenge on Elizabeth, but ultimately that's the way it ended. And
yeah, at the end when she went to the tomb to find her body and it wasn't there, and then she stopped looking, I'm like, what are you doing? It was crazy.
Nellie's upset, and what you can't see out of shot is that Bryn has decided to
Our little
jump
dog
up on
is
her,
comforting me.
give her a bit of a cuddle and make sure she's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, well, when I read this book, I gave it 4 stars. Nell doesn't do stars, but she gave it it's an enjoyable.
It's an enjoyable book. I enjoyed it. Read it. It's a good one.
I would recommend, if you enjoyed this book, give The Secret History by Donna Tartt a shot.
I definitely recommend the other book that she's written the time traveler's wife that's also been made into a movie. I loved that and cried the whole way through. It was just a beautiful, sobby, romancy thing. And I'll be looking for other titles by Niffenegger for sure.
Yeah. That's it. So we've been gunpowder, fiction and plot. And remember, ideas are more powerful. They're more powerful than tricking your niece into committing suicide.
Yes!
And stealing her body.
Jeez! Angry!
Rah!
We just did that whole video and we didn't talk about Jack.
Jack. No Jack.
Jack discovers at the end that his wife is actually his wife, who he didn't think was his wife for 20 years, but now he's really discovered that that it's definitely his wife. Does that make sense? No.
No, he doesn't discover it. He knows.
Yeah, I know that he knows, but my thing, the heartbreaking thing for me, when he confirms that his wife is really his wife, he asks whose children he's been raising, because he doesn't believe that he ever slept with the other twin. And he discovers after 20 years of raising these beautiful girls that they're actually his, after one of them is already dead. That's so sad.
That is really sad.
She's good at tragedy, the old Niffenegger.
She is.
The other person we didn't talk about was Robert. We clearly cared about the male characters in this novel.
Whatever.
I feel like Robert was there to be a romantic foil and not much else.
He was only interesting through his reaction with other characters.
I feel like he spent the whole book like planning where to put his penis, so...
He's like the
who cares about Robert
boson
penis?
of the Niffenegger world.
Ooh. That was a nerdy reference.
It was.
Comment below if you got the nerdy reference. And we're going for real now. Bye.